Okay, here we are at chapter 40. A couple more and we're on our way. It's going to get real interesting now. Back in Chicago, Detective Sergeant Jenkins was still working on putting his case together in the DA's office. His only hope was that some witnesses from Beaupre would come forward and finger these thugs and not be gotten to before the trial. He was getting so tired of these guys like Motown beating the rap time and again. Bob Blottle would still be alive today if the legal system had worked, even a little bit. He was fortunate enough because of the severity of the shooting and the community's anger to get Judge Monroe to eliminate any potential bail and keep all the shooters in Motown locked up until the pre-trial hearing set for tomorrow and until the trial. He had no fear that with Monroe, these guys were going nowhere until after the regular trial was concluded. Plans for the transporting of the prisoners to the courthouse were reviewed over what seemed to be 1,000,000 times to ensure that there would be no logistical screw-ups. The shooters would go into one wagon, Motown in another. 2 young black men were waiting outside Jenkins' office, sitting in an old worn walnut Parsons bench that had to be used as a precinct. It was Mookie and Marvin. Jenkins motioned for them to come in after the desk sergeant announced them by phone, and he passed along some other messages, one from the mayor's office about wanting to meet with Jenkins at 3 p.m. if it was convenient. Jenkins told him to pass along that he would be there. "Come on in, boys," says Jenkins. "What can I do for you?" "Sergeant," said Mookie, "me and Marvin here are on the nights, and we want to testify against Motown. Bob was our friend. We've had it with these guys blowing up in our hood. We've got to stand up to them sometime. They put Marvin in the hospital last spring. We should have done something then. Cracker might still be here if we had. We feel partly responsible, dig? We keep waiting for someone else to do it, and guess that ain't gonna happen. It has to be us." "No," said Jenkins, "it's not. You boys know what you're up against. The rest of Motown's boys may not be too happy." "Word on the street," said Marvin, "is that Motown is finished around here. They have grown so tired of his sloppy thuggery. Guess they realize this time he's really crossed the line. They know you guys are going to come down with both feet on somebody's neck. Too much pressure from the town on this one." "Yes, I think you're right on that," said Jenkins. "You guys will have to help me out, though. We need more witnesses from that night. Can you guys ask around kind of quietly and see if any neighbors or businesses down the street saw anything or heard anything? Maybe somebody had a security camera of some footage. We've got our own, but we can always use more. We've been asking. Everybody's tight-lipped right now. Too scared, I think. We're going to have to work on them if they're going to help us, if we're going to clean up this mess. We always seem to get there too late." "Yeah, me and Marv can ask around for you," said Mookie. "Least we can do. We'll check in with you in a couple of days if we hear anything. Thanks, man." "No, thank you, boys," smiled Jenkins. "Maybe we can get somewhere this time. Hey, thanks again for taking the time to come in." Mookie and Marvin walked out and stood for a moment on the precinct front cement step landing, just kind of looking down the street to see if anybody was spying them. They didn't see anything and started walking home. Detective Sergeant Jenkins was getting his papers and thoughts together for the mayor's meeting in an hour. He loaded a few things into his briefcase and called the DA's office. He let them know about the meeting in an hour. They weren't invited, but they appreciated being kept informed. Jenkins said he would let them know what it was about and if he thought it remotely involved them. He headed out the door and went to his car and started to drive down to the mayor's office. Upon arriving, he spotted remote news crews and vans from channels 2, 5, 7, and 9. Reporters were all on the outside steps of City Hall, doing their normal audio and video checks. Jenkins wondered what this was all about. He hoped he was not about to have some press conference being sprung on him without some advance notice. That would be most unlike the mayor and his staff. He climbed the stairs to the front doors. No one from the news media paid any attention to him at all. He went into the mayor's office reception area and told her that he was here. He took a seat in one of the chairs and waited, fumbling through some old magazines, eyeballing just the covers. The mayor came out of his office and greeted him. "Jim, thanks for coming in on such notice," said the mayor with a big smile. "Please come on in, and Martha, please hold all my calls." They both went into the mayor's plush office. Jenkins took a chair in front of the mayor's large cherry desk as he motioned for him to. "Detective Sergeant Jenkins, I've asked you to come here to fill me in from your perspective on the case," began the mayor. "I've talked to Captain Moss, but he is just too politically correct to really believe half of even what he blows your way. What's happening up to this point?" Jenkins really appreciated the mayor's honesty and respect. It was nice to know that somebody in this town appreciated his hard work and dedication. Jenkins began. "It seems like we have a very good case against all the shooters, and especially Motown this time, said Jenkins. "We have some key witnesses we hope we don't lose before the trial, plus a couple of the night players who vowed to testify about all that Motown's activities were that they knew about. One of the boys was hospitalized last spring by Motown's thugs. He has a debt to repay, it seems. They're also going to volunteer today and the next couple days around their neighborhood for any other witnesses who may testify. The DA is ready to go tomorrow with our pretrial motions. We are seeking 27 counts of capital felony murder against each shooter and Motown. Judge Monroe is presiding. Thank God for that." "Sounds like great news and good work on your precinct's part," said the mayor. "We've also got a search warrant for Motown's pad," asked Jenkins. "Our people are over there right now, going over every inch of the place. Forensics, photos, everyone. I'm meeting them there after we're done." "Okay," said the mayor. "If there's anything you need from me at this point from our office, you just let me know." "No, sir, I don't think so right now," said Jenkins. "I appreciate the offer, though, sir. There's just one thing. What's with the media outside?" "Not sure yet," said the mayor. "My staff is checking into it right now. What we don't need is for them to get the community more riled up than they already are. A good day in court tomorrow will diffuse that, I think," said the mayor. "Well, thank you, sir," finished Jenkins. "Think I'll just head over to Motown's and see how they're making out." The mayor smiled, rose, and shook Detective Sergeant Jenkins' hand. Jenkins left, passing by the reporters on his way out, and sped over to Motown's condo on the north side. Amazing the nice place drug dealers can afford, he thought. Fancy homes, fancy cars, plenty of booze and women. And then what a mess they leave behind for everybody else to clean up. Sergeant Jenkins entered Motown's condo. The door had been left open by his people. 4 police cars and 2 city vehicles were parked out front. Sergeant Riccio was in charge and met Jenkins at the door. He held a black address book with some kind in his hand. "Sarge," said Riccio, as he motioned for Jenkins to come into the unoccupied kitchen. "You won't believe this," he added, handing the book to him. "Look in the back," he said. "Name, dates, dollar amounts. Look who some of the names are," he added. Jenkins scanned down the list. Some appeared to be nicknames. Others were just last names. 3 he spotted immediately. "Oh, no," said Jenkins. "I don't believe it. Or maybe I do. This does change things, doesn't it, Rick?" "Yes, sir, I think it does," said Riccio, with a glint of a smirk. "Thought we were all supposed to be on the same team." "So did I," said Jenkins. "Guess we're not." Two of the names in the book were attorneys in the DA's office. The other was Judge McElroy. Jenkins thought back how he remembered how he sat in on Motown's cases. How convenient, Jenkins thought. Dollar amount next to each of the prosecutors totaled over $70,000, with 4 separate dated entries. 7 dated entries followed the judge's name, totaling over $50,000. This was tons of money Motown was dishing around. Jenkins wondered if this was all of it. "We're looking for other books and files right now," said Riccio. "We've taken his computer downtown already to our computer folks to see if they can check on all his old files. He may have deleted some he didn't want anybody to find, but our guys are pretty good, and even if they're in deep state there, our guys will retrieve them, and I'll keep you posted." "Good," said Jenkins. "Where's the phone?" Riccio pointed over to the wall. He placed the call over to the DA's office. He told the DA he was on his way over and to have attorneys Mason and Martin in the DA's office in 10 minutes. He said he would. When Jenkins arrived, all the players were seated in the office. Jenkins was mad, but he did his best to keep his composure. DA Johnson was getting a little uneasy. "What's up?" asked Johnson. "Something to do with Mason and Martin here?" "Yes, sir, it does," said Jenkins matter-of-factly. "It seems your boys have been doing a little moonlighting." "What kind of moonlighting?" he inquired. Jenkins handed his book and pointed to the entries by their names. Johnson sat there motionless, just staring into the ledger. "Where did this book come from?" asked Johnson. "I just picked it up from Motown Matthews' condo. Not even an hour ago," said Jenkins. "Look at the other name," pointed Jenkins. "Oh, my God," said the DA. "Not Judge McElroy, too?" "It looks like it," said Jenkins. "Gentlemen," began Johnson, "if this is appropriate at this point." He began looking at the 2 assistant district attorneys. "This ledger Sergeant Jenkins brought over here contains your names with some dated entries." "How much money are we talking here, Jenkins?" he asked. "Well over 20 apiece," he answered. Johnson walked over to both attorneys and pointed to the entries. Neither of them blinked. "Do you want to explain how your names got in this hood?" Jenkins asked. Mason and Martin looked at each other. Mason spoke. "Well, we both needed the money, plain and simple. Student loans, little children. You know the pay is not enough. We never worked on any of Motown's cases, you can check. We just took the money and kept quiet. He had already threatened us. We just thought it would go away. You can see that the last entry was 8 months ago. We thought it was over and easily forgotten. We didn't know he kept a book." Johnson just looked at the 2 of them. You could tell he was getting angry. "You guys have your resignations on my desk by 5 o'clock today," he said. "I will get each of you a month's severance pay. It is only for your families that I'm doing this. You guys make me sick. If you guys had financial problems, you could have come to me first. Now get out of here, and do not try to go anywhere outside of this town." "Oh, and by the way," asked Johnson, "do you know why Judge McElroy's name is in this book too?" "I have no idea on that," said Martin. "Remember, his 7-year-old son was kidnapped about a month ago, wasn't it? Maybe a little over a year ago. Maybe Motown had something to do with that. Maybe the kidnapping was just a warning of what might happen if the judge didn't cooperate. Jenkins looked at the DA. Both had forgotten about the kidnapping. Very few end up with happy endings like that one. Maybe it wasn't such good police work after all. Mason and Martin left the office. Jenkins somehow felt sorry for them, but he knew their legal careers were over. All that education, all that talent. What a waste, he thought. Johnson went out to his receptionist and told her to call Judge Mentor, who was in charge of all the judges. He said he wanted to have a meeting as soon as possible with him and Judge McElroy. He wanted a call back immediately. She made a call later, and in 15 minutes, Judge Mentor's office called back. The meeting was set for 6 p.m. in the Superior Court building. Jenkins called his office and told them where he could be reached. He and Johnson decided to go for an early dinner before the meeting. They had much to talk about before court tomorrow. But today was going to be really interesting. Jenkins wondered how much more stress either of them could deal with. He knew that when this was over, he and his wife were taking a real vacation. They had not had one in over 5 years. When this was over, it was going to be their time.